The subject of my deliberation now is from love human to love divine. It's quite a crash course, I would say. So, the earlier part of it is going to be easy, but later on I'm really going to take you to the depths and to the heights. So I would request you to pay attention, but you'll enjoy it and you will understand it. There's nothing here that's very philosophical or metaphysical. You'll understand what I have prepared, the content. So just let's dive into it. We'll start with physical love. There's really nothing much to say about it. What to say about physical love? It's there, it's obvious. It is nature. It is nature's strategy to perpetuate the race and the species. Had physical love not been so pleasurable, the Srishti would come to an end. It would stop. So nature had to make sex very pleasurable. So it's that. It's animal. That's one thing we have in common with the animals. Physical love. But there is a difference. Animals have mating seasons. And we have a perpetual mating season. So that's the difference we have from the animals. And like I said, it's one of the most pleasurable things in life. Whole new industries are centered around it. You know Bangkok, why it's so popular as a tourist destination. So all that is there. So sex is there, it's natural, it's obvious. And sometimes we equate love with sex itself. Beluji showed you quite a number of quotes from Savitri. Do you have a clear idea what Savitri, which Savitri she is talking about? Do you know what Savitri, when she was referring to Savitri, what it is? There's a story, mythological story, we know. There's a mythological story. She brought her husband back from the dead. That we all know. But she was showing quotes from Savitri. What is that? Do you know or? No, okay. I'll just tell you what Savitri Beluji was talking about. You see, there's this epic poem called Savitri written by Sri Aurobindo. It's the longest poem in the English language, comprising of 24,000 lines, more than the combined length of the Iliad and the Odyssey of Homer. And there, Sri Aurobindo has used the mythological story of Savitri, which originally finds its place in the Mahabharata. He has taken it from there, the outline of the story, bare outline I would say, and he developed it into, you can say, a spiritual autobiography of his own sadhana, of his own yoga, and he has put it there. His entire, you can say, life sadhana, not only of himself, even of the mother also. So Savitri is a spiritual autobiography, you can say, in short, of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. The lines which Beluji showed you, they were from that epic poem. So that is the significance of. So whenever we are talking about Savitri, for simplicity's sake, please understand we are referring to the spiritual epic of Sri Aurobindo, not the Mahabharata story. Okay. So there in Savitri, when Savitri is arguing, in Sri Aurobindo Savitri, when Savitri is arguing with with the Lord of Death, that I want the soul of my husband back, there he says something like, what is this love you are talking about? He says, that line, it's the yearning of the flesh, burning of the nerves. You are saying love, my husband. What is it? It's nothing. It's yearning of the flesh and burning of the nerves. It's all hormones and whatever, your drive. Basically, the Lord of Death is saying, it's physical. What you're saying is something physical. Kya love? What love? Chodo. He's saying something like that. So this is what physical love is all about. We would be talking about during the next one and a half days, there would be discussions about that. So I won't spend time on physical love because I have much more higher ground to cover. So I have nothing to show for physical love. So next comes vital love. Okay, what is vital love? Vital love is, you see, human beings cannot remain satisfied with just keeping things at the physical level. We require a lot of fluff and feather over that. So we require emotions, lovely feelings, poetic thoughts, all those things we require. So that's, you can say, is the vital part of it, the emotions that go with the love. Ours is not just a physical love. When animals, they are having their mating season, it's a physical thing. No emotions are involved. Though in the mammalian world, of course, you'll see those emotions are there, caring for the child and all. But again, that is nature's programming. Nature has programmed the mammals in a way so that the species, they survive. That is why they have that protective motherly instincts and all that. So even there also, this mammalian love, this family bond, this caring for the child, caring for the family, all these are mammalian characteristics which we have, which we again share with the animals. That is what we have with the animals in common again. But along with that vital, we, like I said, we require emotions are involved, feelings are involved, some kind of sensitivity is involved. So with the physical comes the vital in human beings. It's not just the physical act. So along with that, we require something else, and that's where the feelings and all, they come in. So here Sri Aurobindo, he says that this vital love, vital means you can, for simplicity's sake, you take it as that which concerns with desires and emotions. Let's keep it simple at that level, okay? So Sri Aurobindo says this can be of two kinds. There are in the vital itself two kinds of love. One full of joy and confidence and abandon, generous, unbargaining, ungrudging. Tomorrow I'll be telling you a story about this part that he's talking about. I'll illustrate it with a story which I'll tell you tomorrow morning. Okay, what is that? One full of joy and confidence and abandon, generous, unbargaining, ungrudging. So vital love can be also of a high and noble quality. But more in common what we have is, but there is another way of vital love which is more usually the way of human nature, and that is a way of ego and desire. This is more common. It is full of vital craving, desire and demand. Its continuance depends upon the satisfaction of the demands, of its demands. I want this, I want you to do this. If you don't do this, I can't love you. That's this kind of vital love. I thought you would do this for me, but now I find you are different. And it continues. Now, what is that last part? Upon the satisfaction of its demands. If it does not get what it craves, or even imagines that it is not being treated as it deserves, I didn't expect you would treat me in this way. For it is full of imaginations, misunderstandings, jealousies, misinterpretations. It at once turns to sorrow, wounded feeling, revolt, pride, anger, all kinds of disorder, finally cessation and departure. The love vanishes. So this is, you can say, the inferior kind of vital love. And the superior kind, I showed you earlier, which, like I said, tomorrow, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So this is from Letters on Yoga. So this is vital love he's talking about. Here also I will not spend much time because we are all experts in this. So you don't need any, inputs from my side as far as vital love is concerned. So I'll just put the end of vital love on a humorous note. So this is what vital love is like in most cases. So just take 2 minutes to savor the taste of this humor. They are husband-wife, the eternal, husband-wives in quarreling all the time. But they are sticking together. They never separate. You won't find the lock-ons ever divorcing. All the time the topic of divorce is coming up, but they never divorce each other. They are always with each other, and this is what goes on between them. So this is what vital love is. Okay. Now again, I won't spend time here. Now comes mental love. Beluji talked about mental preferences. You remember? She said something about mental preferences, ideologies, thought patterns. I believed in this kind of ideology. He also believed, and we were in love with each other. Suddenly the ideology changes. Because you see, mind is very fickle. So this mental love is about tastes, aesthetics, interests. He loves music, I love music, that's why we are together. He loves literature, I love literature, that's why we are together. I have a wife at home, but I find her very attractive because she's so good in literature, and I am a literature buff. So I feel attracted towards her. So this kind, mental preferences. You think that relationships, this can be a foundation for the relationships. We think that way. Mental preferences, because we love the same things, we have the similar interests, we have the similar passions. We feel that they can be a solid foundation. But then, all these mental preferences, tastes, aesthetics, interests, they're all very fickle. They change from time to time. So if you are basing your relationship on that, then what happens when that preference changes? What happens when that season changes? Season of that preference, when it changes. So this is a trap, this that same mental preferences, same kinds of habits or hobbies that we prefer together, and that is a bond for the relationship. That's a very, I would say, shaky ground on which to build a relationships. And there have been great many stalwarts in history. In fact, I gathered some names also, seeing what kind of wives they had. Einstein, Niels Bohr, I'm telling you the names. They're from the world of science, I'm telling you. Einstein, Niels Bohr, Richard Feynman. They are one of the greatest names in physics. Their wives had nothing to do with physics. Not at all. They didn't know a word of physics, their wives. But these people had long, harmonious marriages. So that is not a foundation for a strong relationship. Then in the world of literature, we have Tolstoy. He had 13 children, Tolstoy. But his wife was not a person of literature. But she was a solid force behind his creation. Tolstoy, T.S. Eliot, Charles Dickens, none of their wives were literary accomplished or anything. Even Tagore's wife, they didn't have a very long marriage, but it was a very harmonious marriage. And look at Tagore's, literary stature, and who can stand up to him? Even if his wife was a person from the field of literature, how could she have, expected to be compared with him? So we have this, that mentally our things match, we have the same interests and the same things. We have this in our minds. So this, again, nothing more to say here. Okay, now this is something which I have taken from the Western tradition. Since we are, like I said, it's a crash course, so I'm not going to leave out the Western approach. In Western approach, because after this I'll be going to psychic and divine love. So in the Western approach, more or less, this is the highest level they have come to, Platonic love. Do any of you have an understanding of Platonic love, or what you understand by Platonic love? Can I have one or two responses?
Love for the sake of love.
Sorry?
Love for the sake of love.
Love for the sake of love.
Like,
But that can apply to...
any attachment or any, it should be in a certain way or shouldn't be in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's a freelancing love.
Sorry?
It's a freelancing love. No commitment. I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
No, that is not. No, that is not Platonic love. That is again mutual. Working for mutual convenience. That is not Platonic love. Friends. Okay, this thing.
But no, I said that is more like friends with benefit.
I'll tell you this friends with benefit concept. This I rate it even lower than physical love. Because even physical love is honest. There is honesty in physical love. That it's a physical attraction I feel, and it's a physical desire I feel, or we feel for each other. There is honesty in that. FWB is dishonest. It's not even that I I have this, physical thing and that's why I'm in it. It's physical thing is there and there are some more benefits. I mean, I rate it lower than physical love. So I don't even want to talk about it. Anyway, so that's it. Platonic love, traditionally as it has not been clearly defined, let me tell you. As it has been understood generally, it is a romantic love but non-sexual. It's a romantic love, but without this sexual element. So what I gathered from, mainly the sources are Plato. Because it comes from Plato, it's Platonic love. So deep affectionate relationship between two people without physical or sexual involvement. And intimacy is based on, but Plato says that this relationship is there, but the goal is the attainment of truth and beauty. That is where Plato takes it to a higher level. That the motive is actually transcending the lower vital, mental, what we talked about. It's going on a higher plane and it's the pursuit of truth and beauty. That is how he puts it. And there are two of his books, at least one, they are not very long dialogue. All those are in dialogue forms. These are the two sources. Symposium I have read, Phaedrus I have not read. Symposium, there you see a banquet is being held and Socrates is always one of the persons in the dialogues of Plato. He's always one of the persons. So he's there and the subject matter that is being discussed is love in Symposium. There are other characters also. Aristophanes, he's one more Greek author. He used to write plays, satirical plays. And there is Alcibiades and some other characters are there. So there the main point that comes out is man is half, woman is half. They find their completion in each other. Love is a seeking to restore that unity. So that's how Plato puts it in Symposium, that our own individuality is half. And we always look for the other half for our own completion. And in Phaedrus, it's like I said, that pursuit of love at a higher level becomes a means of spiritual ascent, leading the lover and the beloved to strive for eternal truths and virtue. Mane, kind of, being sadhaks, kind of, but sadhaks of truth and beauty, not of the kind of sadhana we do here in the Eastern traditions, but it's the sadhana of truth and beauty. So these are the two sources, and you see again this man is half and woman is half. In the Eastern traditions also we have this concept of Shiva Shakti. Veluji just talked about the one and then the two in one. So here also we have this concept, Shiva Shakti, Purusha Prakriti. So we have this concept here. So this is what that comes from Platonic love, from the Western tradition. And I'll give you one example of Platonic love from Tagore. Any Bengalis here? Bengalis? Shukantoda is there. Okay, you are a Bengali. There's one poem, Shesher Kobita. It is called Shesher Kobita, which means the last poem. There are two characters. I'll just give you the summary of it in a minute. There are two characters, Lavanya and Amit. They love each other. Again, that similar, they are both interested in literature and arts and all that. Their natures are very much in tune with each other. But character-wise, they are very different. But they have those similar interests, but character-wise, they are very different. And ultimately, some problems crop up in their romance, and they decide to part, to keep their romance alive. Because marriage and its routine and its everydayness, they felt it would kill that romance. You love a person, you see that person in an ethereal light. Biluji said, "Aajkal paav zami par nahi padte mere." Kind of walking in clouds kind of love, And then you get married and you see that person every day, 365 days of the year, in all kinds of situations, from morning till night. That person going into the washroom and coming out of the washroom, all your romance will fly out of the window. So that is what they did not want to happen to their romance, Lavanya and Amit. So they decide to part. and they kept it at this platonic level. There's no higher thing. What I understood from reading Sheshir Kobita was, they kept it at a platonic level. Romantic love, non-sexual. And they decide to marry some other person with whom they had a connection, and initially probably by the natural course of events they would have married that person only. But because there was a sudden, upsurge of romance between them, but ultimately they went back to that other person. Kind of putting this romance under a lid. But we will keep it in our hearts. So this is the gist of Sheshir Kobita, Tagore, which I have written here. That what happens? In fact, it's the lady who takes the decision. Lavanya recognizes that while they love each other deeply, they are temperamentally mismatched for everyday married life. She understands that Amit's love would lose its attraction if confined within the daily routine of domestic life. Routine kills romance. Everything becomes boring after a while, right? And even if we say also, the honeymoon is over. Honeymoon is over, matlab, the moon and the walking on the clouds, that is all over now. So they decide to live in memory rather than in marriage. See, this is a very important line. They decide to live in memory. The whole life they would have that romantic thing in their hearts. Wow, what a wonderful, but it's secret, it's in their hearts. They agree to part so that their love can remain pure and poetic, not worn down by familiarity and domesticity. Their separation is a conscious choice to preserve love in its ideal form. Plato also gives this kind of, description for platonic love. Then it's an ideal form of love. Practically in the world, probably this kind of love doesn't exist, or it's rare. It's not that it's not there, it's rare. So this is what platonic love is all about. Conscious choice to preserve love and in its ideal form, pure and poetic. So if you want to retain the poetry, better not marry that person. Then the poetry will be there. If you marry him, 365 days together, all poetry would vanish. Okay, so from here we come back to the thing, I would say. This is what I am trying to arrive at. Psychic love. Okay, now here I'll just go back to this once more. That this romantic love, romance, poetry, idealism, why does it get killed in daily, marriage and this thing? Because there's a saying, no? Familiarity breeds contempt. So when you see that, you build all that poetry in your mind, all that wonderful things in your mind about that person, imagination, castles of imagination you build about that person, and the daily routine kills that romance. Moreover, distance is a great enhancer of love. When that person is afar, that creates a lot of poetry and romance. But if you are married to that person, the question of distance is not there. Like you see all the legendary love poems, Kalidas' Meghdut. Meghdut, the central idea is Viraha. He is separated from his lover. His lover stays somewhere near the Kailash Parvat, near the Mansarovar. And he is imprisoned for a year because the king is angry with him. And he is sitting somewhere in central India. And he is so fantasizing and romanticizing about his lover that he asks the cloud messenger that you take this message to my lover. When you are going northward, you take this message. So the greatest kind of love poetry has come from this, feeling of separation and all that. But nowadays, you see, separation is it's a rare commodity. When you have, even if that person is not with you, with a video call, there's hardly any distance. There's no distance for romance to build up, Everything is, technology has erased all distance. So that element of romance has gone. Again, in Savitri, the Lord of Death is telling Savitri Because Savitri is fighting for her husband's soul. The Lord of Death is saying that let Satyavan die. The lines are, I'm quoting you the lines. If Satyavan had lived, love would have died. This daily grind of married life, it would have killed your love. Now that Satyavan is dead, that love will remain in your heart. That romance, that what I talked about. The line is, if Satyavan had lived, love would have died. But Satyavan is dead and love shall live. He is telling Savitri that don't ask for his soul. Don't ask for his life. Because he is dead, this love will forever remain in your heart. So don't ask for his life. So these are the kinds of argument that death is giving. So you see, this is all how it fits in. So this is platonic love. And now I go to psychic love. Okay, by psychic love, what do I mean? What do I mean by psychic love? Usually the way the word is used in the English language, it talks about powers of the mind, special powers of the mind, psychic powers. But Sri Aurobindo uses psychic love in a different way. Psychic means, in a word, you understand as soul, that which comes from the soul. It's a soul connection. So psychic love is a term that comes from the soul. Just now Veluji told you, the greater self, self with a greater S. Somewhere that soul connection. So the psychic love is about soul connection. So now let us try to understand. So we will spend some time on psychic love and divine love. Okay? This is where I am laying my emphasis. Because physical, mental love, all these, you people can teach me. Okay. When there is no demand or desire, only love and self-giving, that is psychic love. Because I've chosen very simple definitions from Sri Aurobindo. When can this happen? Only when that comes from a deeper level of your being, from your soul. So, from all his writings on psychic love, I have kind of distilled and I have gathered this sentence. This is not his quote, this I have gathered. Psychic love is pure, selfless, surrendered. It seeks nothing for itself, not even return of affection, because it doesn't arise from the ego. For all those other sources, physical, vital, mental, even platonic, they have their basis in the ego. Ego is the foundation of those loves. But from here, ego is not there. That is the main difference between psychic and all the other kinds of love we have, come across. Because it doesn't arise from the ego. What it is? Pure, selfless, surrendered. It comes from the soul. And Satyavan and Savitri, in the epic Savitri, they share this psychic love. Okay. Now, this is, you can say, steps leading to psychic love. Mother calls it the rungs of love. These are the steps that are leading to psychic love. So what are the stages? At first, one loves only when one is loved. That is the selfish kind of love. There is physical and vital and all that in that. Okay. Next, one loves spontaneously, but one wants to be loved in return. That is also vital love. Then one loves even if one is not loved, but still wants one's love to be accepted. Here, some level of ego transcendence is attained at this stage. But still, the vestiges of ego are there. But one still wants one's love to be accepted. Why? Because that ego still lingers. Otherwise, how does it matter whether you accept it or not? And finally, one loves purely and simply, without any other need or joy than that of loving. Now it's only pure love from my side. I don't care whether you return my love, whether you love me, whether you hate me, I don't care. Because it's coming from the soul, direct. My ego is not there. So no question of, my love asking to be accepted and all that. So these are the steps leading up to psychic love. Now I'll tell you something about soul affinity. Beluji made a passing reference. You see a face, you hear a voice, you get attracted to a form as soon as you see it. Sometimes we call it love at first sight. How many of you accept the idea of love at first sight? I just want to see your hands. Very few hands. Love at first sight. No, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Because love at first sight exists. Sri Aurobindo says it exists. So put it up boldly. Okay. Now we'll try to understand this soul affinity. Why? Why suddenly you don't know a person, he's a stranger to you, and you feel that attraction? Why does this happen? Because somewhere the souls are connected. But we do not have that knowledge. Okay, before I go to Sri Aurobindo, because I'll be taking you into the lines of Savitri, but before I do that, I will give you one more source from the Western world, but I really love this. I just read this, it's wonderful. Two shall be born, the whole wide world apart, and speak in different tongues and have no thought, each of the other's being, and no heed. And these over unknown seas to unknown lands shall cross, escaping wreck, defying death, and all unconsciously shape every act and bend each wandering step to this one end, that one day out of the darkness they shall meet and read life's meaning in each other's eyes. Why does this happen? Two shall be born the whole wide world apart, and one day out of the darkness they shall meet and read life's meaning in each other's eyes. Why does this happen? Because Susan Mars Spalding doesn't explain. She doesn't explain. In fact, the name of the poem is Fate, and there is one more paragraph in that. I didn't take that. She calls it fate because that is a Western understanding. They don't have an explanation for this. So in fact, this poem, like I said, it's called Fate. She's saying this is fate. It doesn't explain. Sri Aurobindo explains it. I'll come to those lines. So this is love at first sight, this thing. And one day out of the darkness they shall meet and read life's meaning in each other's eyes. Now, before I go to Sri Aurobindo's lines, I'll just tell you the situation where this occurs in the epic. Satyavan he lives in the forest. He's actually a prince, but his father has lost the kingdom, and now they are living a very, very simple life. They are living in the forest. His father is blind. He's living with his parents in the forest. So it's a basic life that he's living. And Savitri, she's a princess. She's the incarnate goddess in Sri Aurobindo's epic. But here, let us take as that she's a princess. And she did not find a suitable groom for herself in the kingdom. There was no one who could match her, qualities and beauty and everything. So her father tells her, you go and find a husband for yourself. So she's going all over the country looking for a husband. And this Satyavan, he went to the forest to get firewood and all that. That is the situation in which they meet. And on that particular day, I'll come to that. Satyavan, usually the path he takes a different path that day. There's no reason. He just takes a different path. And he comes to the edge of the forest. And right there, Savitri has also come with her chariot and with her entourage behind her. And they see each other. That is the situation. A person who is living in the forest and a princess. Their paths meet. One day out of the darkness they shall meet and read life's meaning in each other's eyes. That is exactly what happens in Savitri. Now let us go into the lines of Savitri. soul affinity. Although as unknown beings we seem to meet, Sri Aurobindo is saying, our lives are not aliens, nor are as strangers join. Moved to each other by a causeless force, the soul can recognize its answering soul across dividing time. Soul recognizes soul. Soul recognizes soul. Self recognizes self. The large capital S. And right now I am writing a book on Savitri, and I'll just read some commentaries which I have written on these lines. I'll read from my own commentaries that I have written. So what I am reading is a commentary on these lines. So these lines you have before you. We are not strangers though we meet as unknown beings. We do not gravitate towards each other by some causeless force. If there is an affinity, that is because there is a soul connection. And that is why one soul recognizes the other and answers to its call across the gulf of time, even of lives. Sri Aurobindo attributes reasons of the soul for such a meeting. You see, there's this line. Soul can recognize its answering soul. On the destined day of the meeting, Satyavan took an unusual route and came to the edge of the forest, which he usually didn't do. He had come to the forest edge where Savitri had arrived in her chariot looking for a suitor. Savitri, the princess, was traveling all over the land in her chariot with her entourage, and by a strange conspiracy of destiny, came to the very spot where Satyavan had come that day, though that was not his usual path. How to explain this strange meeting? In the first canto of Book of Love, which is significantly called the Destined Meeting Place, there's one more canto where these lines are there. Have I taken them? No. Okay, the lines read, nothing happens in the cosmic play but at its time and in its foreseen place. This is what Sri Aurobindo is saying. Nothing is like, unplanned or it's chance or something. Everything is happening. And Savitri and Satyavan had to meet. They had to meet because, these are the next lines, these knew each other, though in forms thus strange. Now they are strange forms. That means unknown to each other. Although to sight unknown, though life and mind had altered to hold a new significance, these bodies summed the drift of numberless births, and the spirit to the spirit was the same. Now, I'll read my commentary. Although the physical form was unknown to each other, though their lives and mind had altered. You see this line. Though in forms thus strange. Although their lives and minds had altered, because their bodies have gone through numberless births, the affinity of the spirit to the spirit was the same. The last line. The affinity of the spirit, affinity I have added, affinity of the spirit to the spirit was the same. That is why two strangers who are born the whole wide world apart ultimately meet one day and read life's meaning in each other's eyes. Because that soul connection brings them together. Then the next lines. Amazed by a joy for which they had waited long, the lovers met upon their different paths, travelers across the limitless plains of time, together drawn from fate-led journeyings. Okay, the explanation. They were thrilled with a joy for which they had waited long. Are you following? Yeah. For lifetimes, in fact. Because the souls have recognized each other. Though they were going on their different paths, the lovers had met. Satyavan was in the forest to gather the essentials of life, and Savitri was traveling throughout the land to find a suitable husband for herself. The paths were different, but the lovers met. Limitless plains of time. Many, many lifetimes. They were drawn together from their fate-led journeyings. Okay, now the next lines. By the revealing greatness of a look, form smitten, the spirit's memory woke in sense. The spirit has a memory. I'll read the explanation. The mist was torn that lay between two lives. Her heart unveiled and his to find her turned. His heart turned towards her and her heart unveiled. Now the commentary. The way each of them soaked themselves in the sight of the other, in that revealing look, the first line. The physical form could no longer conceal the soul connection that they shared. The physical form is kind of concealing the connection they have. The connection is of the soul. The spirit remembered, though overwhelmed and hypnotized by physical appearance, because of the coarseness of the senses, form smitten. Spirit's memory woke in sense. The spirit remembered and conveyed its memory to the senses. Immediately the eyes recognized, the mind recognized. Now the veil, the spiritual amnesia, you can say, the loss of memory, spiritual amnesia, that stood as a barrier between the two companion souls was destroyed. The mist was torn that lay between two lives. The mist of, several lives, spiritual amnesia and all that. Their hearts unveiled were now turned to each other. Now the final lines. Attracted as in heaven star by star, they wondered at each other and rejoiced and wove affinity in a silent gaze. Now you see, this is highest form of poetry. I'm just trying to make it simple for you. These are, there's nothing in the world comparable to this. Okay. As the stars in the heaven appear attracted to each other, stars attraction for each other, who look at each other through endless time, they wondered at each other and rejoiced in each other. No speech has been exchanged. Just they are looking at each other. And again, recreated their spiritual kinship in their mutual silent gaze. Wove affinity in a silent gaze. So this is soul recognizing each other and the beginning of psychic love. The love of the soul and recognition of the spirit, of one spirit by another. These wonderful, magnificent lines from Savitri. For psychic love, I could not think of a better illustration. And now we come to divine love. In our tradition, divine love is not an exclusive, thing of India or the Eastern traditions. It is there in the Western tradition also. It is very strongly there in the Sufi tradition. It's there in the Christian mysticism also. There have been great Christian mystic saints who were bhaktas, great bhaktas. Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Francis of Assisi, they were there. But otherwise we find it in Sufi poetry we find. Little bit of Sufism also I'll share with you. But here what we do is, you can say there are two grades in bhakti. Divine love, by divine love I mean bhakti. It is bhakti. Where the object of love is the divine, God. God is the object of love, not some person. So there this relationship takes different forms. We worship the God as parent, as Devi Mata or Shiva. Or we worship the Lord as our child, Vatsalya, like Yashoda Mata and Bal Gopal or Ram Lala. That is where we become the parent and God is the child. And we shower all our love and affection on the divine object, where we play that role. Then another is the master. We serve the Lord as our master and we are the servant, the Dasya Bhav. And then we have the friend, the Sakha Bhav, Arjuna and Krishna, Sudama and Krishna. So those are the famous, Sakha Bhav examples. Friend, Lord as the friend. In fact, Arjuna recognizes Krishna as the real divine avatar only in the when he is giving out the Bhagavad Gita and he reveals his universal form. Only then he truly recognizes. Before that, he used to think he is my friend and guide. And lover. God is our lover. Madhur Bhav, where God is our lover. Or secret lover, paramour. That is God. And in Sufism, this God as lover is the emphasis. Their emphasis is God is the beloved. And there's one more, bhava. God as the enemy. How can that be? Can anyone explain? When I say this, God as enemy, even that is also love? Yeah. Actually, you know that that story, Jay and Vijay, they were the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha and they were cursed. And they said, we cannot bear to be away from the Lord for 7 lives. But then he said, in that case, in 3 lives you have to be his enemy, bitter enemy. And through that hatred, that means hatred all the time thinking about the Lord. All the time thinking about the Lord in hatred. That is also one kind of bhakti. So it's where Lord is the enemy. And just recently, about a couple of months back, I completed the study of Bhagavad Puran. And this is such a wonderful description where Krishna kills Shishupal. One heavenly light emerges from his body and it merges into the body of Krishna. Why? Because that was the 3rd birth and Shishupal attains mukti. He merges into Vishnu. The bhakta merges with the Lord, the enemy, but outwardly enemy. So uttermost hatred for the Lord. Even that is also because you are remembering him all the time. Kamsa, the kind of fear. For Kamsa it was fear, for Shishupala it was hatred. Kamsa was fearing all the time that this guy is going to kill me. So all the time he was obsessed by that fear. So these are the relationships which we have conceived in the Eastern tradition. The kind of relationship we develop with the divine. This is one level where we have a relationship with the Lord in these different kinds of relations. But there is one, I would say, a further grade in this, where in this love, and that is this lover, in this where God is the beloved, you erase your identity. You merge your individuality and ego in the identity of the Lord. This is there in the Sufi tradition. You must have heard this, so many Hindi songs are there where this theme of Shama and Parwana, it occurs. Shama is the flame and Parwana is the moth. The moth, it flies into the flame and it burns itself. So that is actually, that Sufi poets, they have taken that image where the Parwana is the lover and the flame is the beloved, where they burn themselves in the merging with the beloved. So these 2 lines I have taken from Sufi poetry. First a quote from Sri Aurobindo about divine love. See what Sri Aurobindo says. I am not a bhakta, I am not a jnani, I am not a worker for the Lord. What am I then? A tool in the hands of my master, a flute blown upon by the divine herd boy, a leaf driven by the breath of the Lord. This is the God lover. That he is nothing, he is just this, he is the flute. He is a leaf driven by the wind of God. So this is the attitude of the divine lover, where I am not important anymore. Only the divine is important. And this comes from Rumi, the Sufi poet. Fly straight into the candle, this burning so dear. No coolness can tempt us out of its flame. The desire to get burned in the flame and self-annihilation, giving up of our own identity in divine love. This comes from the Sufi tradition. Now I'll tell you a short Sufi, it's not a story, it's just a dialogue you can say. This is also from Rumi. I've not put it in this slide, I'll read it to you, just pay attention. This is again from the Masnavi. Masnavi is his most famous work, Jalaluddin Rumi. So it's there. Just listen to these lines. After long years of search, I found the house of my beloved and knocked on the door. Who is there? A voice called from inside. It's me, I replied. There was silence and the door was not opened. I went away, feeling hurt and rejected. For long years I wandered, but my lovelorn heart took me again to the door of my beloved. I knocked. Who is there? Came the voice from inside. It's me, your lover. Please open the door. But the door remained closed and did not open. Again I went away and wandered for many years. My pain and longing increased day by day. I roamed the streets like a madman. People stared at me and whispered in each other's ears, he has been driven to madness by love. And one day, without my knowing, I found myself again at the door of my beloved. I knocked. Who is there? The voice asked again. It is thou, I replied. The door opened. Come in, the voice said, for there is no room for two here. So that is Rumi's Masnavi. So up to the level of platonic love, there is ego. In psychic and divine love, there is no ego. And this, what I read to you from Rumi, has been expressed in India by Kabir, almost similar, but as poetic and as beautiful. Just listen to this. This is Kabir saying, जब मैं था तब हरि नाही, अब हरि है मैं नाही, प्रेम गली अति सांकिरी, या में दो न समाही. When I was, then Hari was not. Now only Hari is and I am not. Very narrow is the lane of love. Here two cannot go. Only one can exist here, either you or the divine. So you have to be like that moth that runs towards the flame. No coolness can tempt us from the flame. So that is what divine love is, and that is my presentation. Thank you for listening patiently. So if you have any questions, please come up with your questions. Yeah. The crash course is over.